Well, good evening, listeners. I'm recording this on, I believe we're at December 16th, and it's really cold here in Virginia. And I'm talking with Angela Cartwright, and this is my last guest of the 2025 year. So I think we're at almost 100 people this year, and she will be, I think, close to the 100th person. And this year alone, and it's kind of surreal how fast this has all gone, but it's such a cool gift for me to have her be my last guest of the year because for those of you who know, I mean, Sound of Music has been with me since my childhood. I mean, I think that's one of the beauties about these type of classics is that they last and they go past generations. Even just this past Sunday, I had a kid in my Sunday school class telling me how one of his favorite songs for from Sound of Music was Do Re Mi, and he was singing it. And it's crazy because he's very tiny, and just seeing like the how many people, no matter where you are, what age you are, love the Sound of Music. And Angela played um Brigitta, and um here she is now. She's a photographer, she's a painter, she's an actress, she's an author. She has a very extensive website which I will link under here. But she also makes jewelry that she partnered with another individual, I believe from the cast, right, Angela, to make the jewelry?
No, he's a botanical artist. His
Okay.
name's Michael Michaud.
So tell us about that jewelry that you're making. You called it Edelweiss jewelry?
Well, this was the 60th anniversary of the Sound of Music, and Edelweiss, of course, is one of the songs from Sound of Music. But not only that, it's a magnificent, delicate, beautiful white flower, and
Yeah.
it's very noble and very, very gorgeous, and it's got lovely history behind it. And I wanted to do something to remember the Sound of Music for the 60th. And I have always admired Michael Michaud's work. He is a phenomenal artist, and he makes botanical jewelry. And he has a specific finish he puts on his items that he does. And he does almost every flower and uh, thing that grows. He's done herbs, he's done all sorts of things. So
Wow.
I actually had never met him, but I wrote him an email and I said, I admired your work and wondered, would you be interested in making an Edelweiss? Because it wasn't on his website. And he wrote me back. He goes, I love Sound of Music. I would be honored. So the two of us, we did a whole line. There's like 13 items. These earrings being one of the hoops,
Hmm.
the newest one, call that Maria's wreath. And then the little Edelweiss necklace. And it's just done very well. And I think people that love Sound of Music have really gotten behind these little pieces of jewelry because I think it makes them feel good, just like the movie does.
Well, it's a
So
perfect
that's,
Christmas gift too.
it is a great
Yeah.
Christmas gift. And, I send priority mail and you can order on my website, Angela Cartwright Studio. So it's right there on the front page if you're interested in that. And also the other things that I do, the books that I've written, the Sound of Music Family Scrapbook, which was everybody's memorabilia from when we made the movie, and then our particular memories and stories from the movie. I have that on there, and I autograph and personalize everything. I'm a team of one. That's me. Um, and also, I have the Lost in Space book, which has been really popular. And Bill Mooney, who was in Lost in Space, he played Will. He signed them all, and I will also personalize those. So that's kind of a cool thing that I enjoy doing and sharing with everybody. Some great stories in the Lost in Space book, if you're a fan. And there's so many people that love that show. It's a phenomenal that I was part of an iconic movie like Sound of Music, and then also a fan favorite, Lost in Space, which have appealed to so many people.
Well, it's crazy
So,
because, when I always would think about your name, all the kids with Sound of Music, I always thought about just Sound of Music, but I was looking at your website, like you had done vocal work, you've done theater, you've done um, video game voiceovers, and tons of television, film. Like you've done a lot of things. I mean, it's funny. I'd only really known you from Sound of Music, and then Lost in Space I had heard of. Um, but I was really like, you had done many, many things. It wasn't just Sound of Music. I think that's just what made you really famous. But
Well, I did start very young. You're much younger than I am, so I know why you don't know about Danny Thomas Show or Lost in Space even. Except Rob, Lost in Space did have kind of a revival with the Netflix movie, which was quite popular, and I got to play a bad person in that as kind of a homage to the show itself, and that was so much fun to do that little cameo. Um, but I started my career really young. I was 3. We moved to America from England. There was no housing in England, so we went through Canada and finally immigrated to America. Being in show business was really, if you knew my parents, that was the last thing on their mind. And it just was fate. It was just meant to be, I think. My sister Veronica is also a very well known actress and had been in a million things. And the two of us just kind of, it was, kind of the golden classic days of show business. There weren't that many kids. It was way before video or
yeah,
any of these internet. It was, you tuned in and there were 3 channels and people just followed the show every week, didn't know what was going to happen, couldn't stream it or anything like that. So it was kind of cool to be part of that beginning of Hollywood because it was so new. Everything was so new in show business for children, especially. There weren't that many people in the business. I was on Danny Thomas Show. I did a couple movies first with Paul Newman. I was his daughter, and Somebody Up There Likes Me, and Rock Hudson, and Sidney Poitier, and Something of Value, 2 big movies at the time. And then I did the Danny Thomas Show, and I was 4, and it went for 7 years.
yeah,
So it was a show that people my age, they absolutely grew up with that show because it was on every week. People loved the family, and the character that Danny Thomas played. And then right from that, when that ended, Danny had decided that he wanted to produce more. So I was like out of a job at 10 and or 11, and I went on The Sound of Music, and I got the part of Brigitta, which we all gathered in Salzburg to celebrate the 60th just in October, and we were all in a car. We were being driven to where they're going to open a museum there called the Sound of Music Museum
hmm,
next year, well, hopefully. And we were just saying how remarkable it was and how lucky we were that we were chosen to be in that movie because it's never gone away.
yeah.
You were telling me that your one of your students, little tiny kid, knew Do Re Mi and sang it. It's a perfect song too. I mean, so many kids know that song,
Yeah.
and then it's done as plays, so it's kept alive.
Why do you
I
think
also
people
want
like it so much?
well, I think there's a lot of different reasons. One reason is it's absolutely stunning to look at. It's magical. The mountains and the scenery, and Robert Wise was brilliant on how he brought the locations all in view for people to kind of really invest themselves in it. Julie Andrews and Chris Plummer had definite chemistry. And I think that Robert Wise, who was the director, he really cast that movie with, I don't know, he had such insight. He created a family. We call ourselves the Non-Traps. We are like a family. We text each other. We are, always in communication with each other. And when we get together, it's like we've never been apart. So there was something very special about that he could create the seven of us, and we all just really liked each other. Matter of fact, Debbie Turner, who played Marta, she just texted me this morning. She just had, not her personally, her daughter, had her 11th grandchild.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa. She overtook me a long time ago. I have five. I thought that was a lot. And then she had nine, and now she has 11. So she has four daughters.
Wow.
So, yeah. And, you know, we just share stuff like that. We've shared weddings and deaths and births and birthdays. And that relationship has been really terrific.
I was gonna say, I mean, with what just happened with Rob Weiner and, everything that, which is just really sad. So it's been heavy on my heart just seeing that whole situation. And I was thinking to myself, because I remember when I was young, wanting to, like a little kid, wanting to meet all of the actors and actresses who played all the children. And several of them have passed away, which was pretty insane
Two of them. Hmm.
because they were young, really young.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to ask you, like, how does that compare to family? Like, I have not yet experienced um the passing of a very close friend or the passing of a family member. And so I've always wondered, like, if you spend so much time with someone in movies and then they pass away, like, how does that, from my perspective, just watching, you're like, oh, that's sad, but I didn't know them, so there's not really that connection there. Besides, I mean, you have this nostalgia of them in your childhood, but you don't know them personally. What was that like for you? Like having to go through that, does it feel like the death of a family member if you lose a cast member
Oh,
you were close to?
absolutely. Charmian, who played Liesel,
Yeah.
was the first member to pass away. We were with her close to the end. We went and visited her. When I say we, I mean the rest of the cast. Heather's passing, I was very, very close to Heather. We made instant friendship on the movie, and we love the Beatles. And we drove everybody on the set crazy with our Beatle mania. But that was so shocking. It was very quick.
That was
It
Louisa,
was very surprising.
right?
Pardon?
Louisa?
Louisa, yes. Um, and she was not even, I think she was 63 when she passed away. I mean, it was way too young. And that was gut wrenching. It really was. It's tough having friends pass. I'm in my 70s. I've seen a lot of people pass away and experienced it, and you have to find a place of um, life's a cycle. This is what happens. You're born. You do the best you can while you're here, and try to accomplish the things you're put on earth to do, and then you move on. And it sounds flippant, maybe, but there's nothing you can do to change it. You feel so powerless, and you can become very, very sad, or you can accept it as their journey.
Yeah.
And that's what I tend to do. I mean, she, had done what she needed to do, I guess, and that was she started that uh, organization for sarcoma cancer because her husband, Bob Urich, had passed away just a couple of years before. That was heartbreaking. I was with him when he passed. It was awful. Um, and you wonder there's no answers to why these things happen. You just have to, have faith that it's the right thing to do. Like, just be there.
When
And the
was
Rob Reiner, it's very sad.
oh, go
It's
ahead.
awful.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's just the way life is. I don't have any big answers for it, actually.
No, no, I wondered, what was your first experience with something dying or something you loved being lost? Do you remember the first time you experienced that, how it felt?
Yes, I was like 17, and a friend of mine passed away in a car accident. And
Hmm.
I realized at that time that I better do some work on coming to terms with this, because when my parents pass away, I am going to be a basket case. I need to figure out some way of coming to terms with it. And I still have good and bad days when I think of my parents. They were lovely people, and I just loved them dearly. So
Oh,
when they passed, it was tough. But my dad was ready. My mom went first, and then my dad passed away. But he said, "I'm ready. I'm ready," and then he just went. So I have to believe that that was, his choice and his time. It's not easy, let me tell you, but you can do, meditation and, read that there's more than just this, I think, than this earthly plane.
yeah. What do you think
So,
happens?
I'm not really sure. I think that, I believe that you, you have a purpose when you're here.
Yeah.
And you better get to it and do it because you never know when your last time's going to be. My husband and I talk about that all the time. You never know when that last hug is going to be, or the last time you say, goodbye, and off you go in the car. You just never know. So you need to not let things eat you up inside. Come to some solution about stuff like that so that you don't have any regrets.
You know,
Do I know where you
oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead?
Sorry.
No, it's a heavy subject right here.
No, it is, but I was talking to Bonnie Bartlett several, maybe 2 years ago. The lady, do you know Bonnie Bartlett who played? sh-
She sounds familiar. What's that?
She's
What is
like,
she?
she must be. When I interviewed her, I think she was turning 94. So maybe she's 96 now. She's still alive, but she played in Little House on the Prairie as Mrs. Edwards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she played in other black and white films before that, and she wrote a memoir relatively recently, and her husband had been married for decades together. And he's also still alive. It was pretty crazy, like, just not because of what she'd done in the past, but just meeting someone who's lived almost 100 years, all they've seen, and they can talk to you about it. They're very cognizant. It's just really cool to
Yeah.
connect like that. Um, but I just remember her saying when I was talking to her about it, because I always like to ask older individuals, because I know that, it's interesting because as a young person, you're under this facade sometimes that, you'll live a really long time. Sometimes that doesn't, a lot of times it doesn't happen now, which is kind of, it's, it's almost a false narrative you put in your mind, but you feel very invincible. But when you talk
Mm-hmm.
to someone who's in their 90s, you know, they they've really come to this point in their life where they're just they're very ready to go. They're tired. They've lived a really long time, but they don't have this invincibility about them. Like, they've seen suffering, they've seen pain, and so by the time they get to the end, they're like, I'm okay, going. I don't have this grip on life that I want to, like, see this or do this. Um
Mm-hmm.
but she was talking to me, and she said, for her the biggest comfort was that she feels like she was in something that created a legacy. Like Little House on the Prairie, she was talking about, like, she feels like she'll live on because she was in that series for so long. And that has
Yeah.
given her a lot of peace, so that when she passes away, she feels like she leaves a legacy that people will still remember her. She won't be completely forgotten. Um, and so that stuck out to me because I've always wondered, like, for people who've played in Sound of Music, the Waltons, Little House on the Prairie, Partridge Family. I mean, these are there's stuff I still watch, and there hopefully will be things people watch later. And so I've wondered, you do have this very unique role that you get to leave this legacy in what you've done. And not a lot of actors get that because, not all series were standing for so long or filmed in
Sure.
such an impression. And so I wondered if you'd felt that way at all. So yeah, I'm sorry. It didn't mean to be a dark question.
No, it's not. I don't think death has to be a dark question. Um, it is comforting to know that I was in a movie that hopefully will play on. And so many generations have enjoyed it. So I would have to think that, I mean, 60 generations have enjoyed this
I
movie
know.
and played it for their families. They're playing this Sunday that for, we had talked about that. And people have Sound of Music parties, they make apple strudel and they watch the movie and they sing all the songs and they get dressed up and it's wonderful to have been a part of that. And that's what I was saying. We were in the car in this car in Salzburg, and there were the five of us together. And we live all over the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Nicholas is in Australia, and then all over the United States, and we all came together, and we were just saying how great it was to have been a part of this. Actually, I have a little podcast. It's not one that's committed to every week, but there were some people that I wanted to talk to. Bill being one of them, Bill Mooney from Lost in Space, my sister, another one. And that conversation that we had in the car, I recorded it.
Oh, wow.
And it's on the podcast right now. Is it perfect? No, it's perfectly imperfect, is what I like to say.
Hmm.
But you will hear Nicholas talk about it, and we were all like, "Yeah, this is just so weird." Here we are in Salzburg, and it it's just interesting to some of us, have not gone on to be in the movies,
Yeah.
like Dwayne and. Uh, Kimmy has autistic child, so she kind of put her career on hold to take care of that and start an organization for that.
Doesn't Debbie
And
have a floral shop?
she does,
Yeah.
yes. And she used to do amazing weddings, and she's kind of stepped back a little bit now. She's got so many grandchildren um, that she's stepped back a little bit from that, so she's not embedded in show business, and I have stepped back. I mean, I'm not every day going to the studio waiting for my agent to call. I just I don't. I'm just not that involved in that whole persona anymore. Not that I'm not available to work, but I have there's other things that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And you were talking about leaving a footprint. And it doesn't have to be acting. It can be starting your own business, that's successful, or making some art that is beautiful, or like your podcast. I mean, you're making a footprint with people that follow you and listen to you. It doesn't have to be this huge thing, where everybody in the world knows you. It can be, a footprint just that you left the earth better than when it was before.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Well, what gave you, because I was looking at your art, which is really beautiful, but it's also very unique. I think it has a misty feel about it. That was just when I was watching it. Like, it looks like
Oh,
you're seeing things through a mist and a fog. Like, it's very pretty, but it seemed more impressionistic to me. But that could just be.
huh.
But I wanted to ask you, like, what gave you a desire to start painting? Because obviously it takes discipline, commitment. I mean, I can't draw a stick figure very well, so I'm afraid, I'm not
I
creative
always felt like
way.
that. I always felt that way, actually, that I wasn't precise enough. My dad was a technical artist. So
Okay.
when he drew, it was so perfect because he had to do sketches for different projects. And
Hmm.
like he worked actually on the Apollo rockets and stuff, and he did a lot of the technical drawings for that. And then he went on to be at 20th Century Fox as an art director.
Wow.
So everything was so kind of perfect that he drew, and I just couldn't do that. And it actually happened when my son was, I would take him to school to drop him off. And the school he went to was a little ways away, which I didn't mind because I liked being in the car and talking to him. And, but the traffic coming home was really bad. So I used to stop at a place called Descanso Gardens. And it was a beautiful garden. And I used to just walk. And I took my camera and I started shooting black and white film, and then I would hand color it with oils. And that was
Wow.
kind of the beginning of that whole transformation, because the photography part was perfect, like I wanted to achieve, and then I could use the freedom of painting it.
Hmm.
And I loved doing that, and I did many series of exhibitions and stuff of that hand painted photography. Um, and now I'm kind of in a different period. I went into this thing about doing portraits of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who these people are, but there's somebody. I don't know. It's kind of a zone that you go into sometimes in art. You don't really know why you're doing what you're doing. I have some wonderful artist friends that are inspirational to me, and I love looking at different artists and how they do stuff. Um, but I don't know. It's just been a journey, and I just try to make time for family as well as my own personal things that I want to do.
Do you still love gardens and flowers and?
Oh yeah, I do. I love flowers and garden. I'm not a great gardener by any means, but
Mm.
I do love. I love trees. I don't know. Trees are cool. Um, But you go through different periods of time. I know there are artists that they feel like they always have to produce the same thing because that's the thing that sells. But I never let
Mm.
myself kind of get in that space. I'm not doing it for kind of any purpose but to put out what I'm supposed to put out. And I don't really even think about it. It just happens. Usually before I start a project, I have a dream, and that dream kind of tells me what I'm supposed to end up doing. I don't know. That's happened several times,
Oh, like while
especially with the books I've written.
like while you're sleeping, you dream of a plot
Yeah.
or a story, or wow.
I wake up and I go, oh, I have to do that. And I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just a channel that's open. It's kind of being suggested some way, somehow. Um, but I usually do follow those inclinations, those messages.
Yeah.
Usually pretty open to that. And I have a lot of faith that I'm on the path of doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
What is one that really was vivid or stuck out to you? Maybe it surprised you that that was something, or you never thought you'd end up drawing or doing anything like that?
Well, the one that absolutely blew my mind was I had a dream about continuity pictures, which I love.
Hmm.
Those are pictures that are always taken for every movie, every television show. They used to be done with a big 2.25 camera, and now they're done more. Then it was Polaroids, and now, of course, they're all digital. But I had this dream about when I was doing Lost in Space, there were all these big boxes of photographs that were in these boxes, and it actually were these continuity fit pictures. At the time, I didn't really realize what it was, but they had nowhere to store them, so they would store them in the restrooms because there was kind of like this little foyer in the restroom in the 20th Century Fox stages, which were big, and there always used to be these boxes. Anyway, I don't know. I knew that I wanted to go and talk to them at 20th Century Fox Studios,
Hmm.
and see if I could get in their archives and find some of these archival pictures and make a book about it. Now that I look back, I mean, 20th is owned now by Disney.
Yeah.
That deal went through, I think, last year. I mean, 20th Century Fox Studios was so amazing with the projects that they had, from Shirley Temple all the way, there's just so many different actors. It took me 2 years of going through all the pictures in the archives. I was amazed that they even gave me permission to be in the archives, which is down under all the stages. And there was a lovely guy that we worked with there, archivist, and he would bring out these dusty boxes and I would look through them all.
Wow.
And that was such a fun project for me to do. And the book itself won several awards, actually. It was called Styling the Stars, photos from the archives of 20th Century Fox Studios. And Marilyn Monroe was on the front. And there's just the most amazing pictures. And from them, you can see the personality of the actors themselves. It's a boring thing to do. They're always like, we need your, continuity picture. And you'd go and you'd stand and they'd take a picture. And a lot of times you look miserable. Sometimes you look happy. It's just like, oh, God, I have to do this. But they had to match the clothing. Or maybe your shirt was torn. They'd have to match what that was, or the hairdo, how that curl was. It was something had to be done. That book was so much fun to put together. And I'm very proud of that book, actually. And I don't think it's in print anymore, but you can maybe find it on Amazon. But that to me was a dream that was, whoa, such a huge scope to
Wow.
even imagine that I could go to these people at 20th and convince them that I should pick these pictures and make this book of continuity pictures. And I'm very proud of it. Actually, Shirley Temple passed away right after I had gotten permission to use her picture.
Oh, wow.
There were several people, actually, several actors. Some of them had a state that you had to clear the pictures with, that they were okay with using them. And it was a big project, but I had a blast doing it.
Is there a
And
photo
I
that
love that book.
stuck out to you from all of those? Like, did you really?
Well, there were a lot of Sound of Music photos that I had never seen before,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was super cool to look at that. But there was Veronica, my sister's first movie, In Love and War,
Oh, wow.
her continuity picture. I found Bill Mooney's continuity picture from one of his very first movies. Can't even remember what it was now. And just all these, if you're into, these golden age of actors, Julie Andrews pictures from her movies.
Wow.
I was able to put those in there. Natalie Wood and Clark Gable and all these actors that were from 20th Century Fox, that pictures of them. It was quite an experience. That was really, really fun.
I know this might be a weird question, but did it humanize them more for you? Because, when we talk about the golden age of Hollywood, and when earlier this year, I got to speak with Ruta Lee, and it was so cool talking to her, because, like, hearing her voice sounded the exact same as she is in so many of the films I'd seen her in. It's very classy, just like sexy sounding voice. And,
Uh-huh.
it was incredible. Like, you have this picture in your mind of what these golden actors are like, because, they're from this age where all these films have kept being passed down. And in my opinion, the phase we're in now with entertainment, it's not that they're not good. A lot of them are really beautiful films, but it's yet to be, I think, that there's a big classic that we're like, oh, 200 years from now, this one that was made in 2022, is still going to be playing and be a big, big hit. It just, but it struck me when I was talking to her, when she was telling me about her life and some of the things that she had done. Like, you started to appreciate, and like the gold about her in the classic sense didn't go away, but she became much more human by talking to her. She would talk about the things that maybe she struggled with, or something she did in her life that was really hard, and suddenly the glamour that she had before by not talking to her was different. Like, it was more of a human touch. And so I wondered, since you went through so many photos, did you find it more humanizing as you looked at all of them, or did it give that glamour
Well,
factor?
it's kind of really interesting that you're saying that because there's a perception, I think, that movie stars know stuff. And you need to listen to them. And they know shit. I mean, really and truly, they make movies, you know? It's like, I don't know why people, are enamored with a performance, and so they follow that person and they love that person. There's something about them. Maybe they're very talented. I'm not saying they're not talented with singing or whatever, but everything they say is not, you know, right or correct. It can be wrong. It can be. It's their opinion. It's nothing more than an opinion. Um, I know
Hmm.
that Paul Newman, in all his continuity pictures, he's a big goofball. I mean, he would do goofy faces. And even though, like, most people are just standing there, most of mine that I have as continuity pictures, and I just love them because they're so raw. I'm just standing there, like, okay, take the picture. I'm not like smiling or anything like that. He was just a big old goofball. He sticks out in my mind. Him and Joanne Woodward, and some were so glamorous, showing off their outfits and stuff like that. But there's others that are just like so bored. Um, so yeah, it does humanize him in a way. It's I don't know. Show business. You look at showbiz people, and you're just like, oh my god, I'll do anything to like meet that person, or
Hmm.
just I admire them so much. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just people. They get up every morning and they brush their teeth and they do everything that normal people do. They're just people, but they happen to have a talent for being behind the camera, bringing a character to life.
Yeah.
Maybe they can do different accents, um, and you really can get behind a good performance. But they're still just actors. That's not the real person.
Yeah.
They could be a real shit and play a really good person. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean they're actors. They're acting, for heaven's sake. So I don't know. You can get disillusioned with showbiz people too, and I think there's an awful lot of pressure put on a lot of people. Um, and there's a lot of corruption and stuff
Yeah.
that's really awful. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the sad part of it. But there's other businesses also that have that
Yeah.
same kind of problem. Money is sometimes a evil thing, can make you think and do things that are not necessarily healthy and good for you.
Well, I wanted to ask you, did you, in the film in Sound of Music, you're a very sweet but also bold child, I
Mhm.
think. Were you like that in real life with your parents? Were you
No,
sweet and
no, I was
bold?
not. For a matter of fact, I was really glad I got the part of Brigitta, though. She was probably everything that I wanted to be, but I was a much shyer person than that. I would never tell somebody your face is all red or that's the ugliest dress I've ever seen. I just wouldn't do it. It's just not in my personality. I was just way quieter and shyer than that. And I liked how Brigitta noticed everything. She would say it just right out there. She would just say what was on her mind. Um, and I would never do that. So, no, Brigitte was not like me, except I did have a love for music and a good time, having fun and, being in family. I do find that part of it much like me. But yeah, there are parts of her that, yeah, I would never have done. It's just funny. I would never get the whistle and not come in to the scene. You know, in the beginning, I come in reading a book, like I'm totally ignoring that I've been whistled. And oh, I would go, oh heavens, I better get my butt out there to be. We're being whistled. No, Brigitte was like, I'm really into this book, and I'm just gonna. Oh, Dad. Oh yeah, But I think it kind of set up that the captain was not a bad person. He wasn't a bad father. He just didn't know what to do with 7 kids. I think Chris Plummer carried that off so well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine having 7 children and no wife. I mean, that's
Yeah, that's a lot. And he didn't know what to
and how
do
to be a,
with
a, a
that.
father to daughters that are, growing up and falling in love
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. And the kids needed attention. They
Yeah.
wanted attention. And that's why they did the things that they did. And they weren't really crazy about the nannies that he had set up. They were probably trying to be really strict and everything. And they were pushing the card, trying to, see what they could get away with.
What's the sweetest memory you have with your mom? Because I think, watching The Sound of Music for me, my mom loves The Sound of Music. I think that's her favorite movie. And I remember her showing it to us, and she, some of the sweetest moments with my mom would be times when she would let us sneak in. Well, not sneak in, but we would come in and we would sit and lay down with her in bed before my dad would get there. And we would talk about the day, or maybe she'd read something, or she'd like rub my back. She had a very gentle touch. I mean, she still does, but um, and I remember that very fondly. And so in the scene in Sound of Music where the mom is in bed, well, she's not the mom yet, but all the kids come onto the bed and they're talking to her and they're afraid of the storm. And it's just a very intimate scene because as a kid, lots of kids have very bad memories at nighttime. Something
Yeah.
bad really happened. Or you also have moments where you remember very sweet moments that happened at night. Whether you had a nightmare and you ran in and you cuddled with your parents, or it's interesting how there's just this parents and nighttime and maybe that one time, it's just interesting how that usually is a memory for good or bad at one point in your life. And I wondered if you had anything like that with your mom that was a sweet moment for you.
Well, my mom was always there for me. She took me to the studio every day. As an adult, when I was older, I realized the commitment that she made. She never left me alone on the studio. You had to have a guardian on the set anyway, but I think that's one reason that I wasn't exposed to any really bad experiences in Hollywood.
Hmm.
She was very protective of me. She would sit, I mean, when you think I was 4 and 5, she would sit and color with me. We would do that for hours or play Barbies. She was a very present mom.
Hmm.
My dad was worked, and we always had tea. We were English, so we always had tea time. So that's a very fond memory. I still love that to this day. I love having tea time. And she wasn't a great cook, but we always came
I
together.
love it.
We always came together for dinner. She had a certain menu every night, and I am not like that. I'm more of just a scourger, and just what should I make? I don't really have time. I mean, I guess if I had one wish, like a genie wish, it would be to have a cook. Oh my God, I would love that. That would be awesome. Because I love good food. I just, I like cooking if I have a lot of time to do it
See,
and nothing
I
else
feel the
on my
same
mind.
as you because I feel like food tastes good when you know the person loved making it because then they really
Hmm.
tried. But for me, I just don't like to try. I'm like, I don't want to spend all this time on this. I just want it to be done. I want to eat. And so, but I don't know, do you feel insecure about that? Because as a woman, I my mom was an amazing cook because she was Italian and her mom before her made pasta by scratch, grew the tomatoes in the garden and would crush it up and use it for sauce and like made amazing stuff. And I just I've never liked cooking. And like when I got married a couple years ago, then I had to kind of step it up and do some cooking. So I'm doing more now, but
Yes, you
still,
have to feed that man.
yeah, exactly. But I guess I have always felt like I've always lacked, I feel insecure about that so much because I have so many friends who are such good cooks and I love their meals so much.
Well,
But I
don't beat
don't like
yourself up
mine.
about it.
I just,
See, we
I
can wish for
don't.
a cook. Um, you know, um, I think what you're saying is true. I mean, if you have the time to bake or you're doing it with your grandkids, you're making sugar cookies for Christmas. I mean, that's lovely. It's great. I just find time is my issue because I can sit in my art room here and I can just be gone and I'll go, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock. Now, my husband, been married almost 50 years
Hmm.
in May. Unbelievable. Um,
Congratulations.
he's,
Babe.
thanks. It's quite something, isn't it? He is not demanding about food. You know, I'll say, do you want dinner? And hope that he doesn't say he does. He'll like go, not really hungry. Great. Okay, fine.
What does he do?
You know,
What does he have instead?
he'll come out later, or I'll cook vegetables or just a hamburger or something like that. Um, if I don't eat something, I get like a headache and I don't feel great, and I have to have protein. But he doesn't seem to have to do that, and that he likes to cook sometimes. I wish that he wanted to barbecue more though, because
Um,
I love barbecue, but he doesn't really like to do that, which is kind of a drag. But
so
I
you
had an
people are
Italian boyfriend.
not big cooks.
What guy doesn't like to barbecue? I mean, don't guys like to get out there with the I mean, I got him all the stuff one year, but it didn't work. Um, I dated an Italian for like 4 years before I got married. And it was his parents that taught me how to throw a party.
Hmm.
Because they had parties all the time. And, you have to be very aware of hey, do you have a drink? And are you happy? And how to do food and how to do it all. And I did all that for years. Every year I had a huge Christmas party and
Wow.
made my famous cheese beer soup and some big salad. And
Cheese
very
beer
delicious.
soup.
Cheese beer soup, yes. But you have to sit and stir it. So I would make it, and then I got my husband to make that while I was running around lighting all the candles and doing all that stuff. And he actually enjoys doing that, and that's still a tradition. But since I moved, I haven't given my big Christmas party, but I do have it with my kids, where it's just an adult party, and then we play like a game afterwards, and it's really fun. It's a fun tradition. Those are things that you have to put out the effort if you want a family to last. You have to make memories. You have to have the journey.
Hmm.
My son turned 40 this year, and we all went to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and we rode ATVs, and we made it a memory. It was a wonderful memory.
Hmm.
We had rented two houses because there's like uh, 16 of us. We have babies and adults and children and everything. You really have to make the effort if you want it to work, you know? Maybe you don't have to cook, but you do have to order in to make a memory. That's
No,
my
I
opinion.
love
I
that.
mean, it doesn't come just perfect. You have to be there. You have to be present for
Yeah.
that.
Well,
It's it can be great. It can be a great trip together though.
how do you know though if you know how you establish all these traditions and memories and then your kids grow up and they like start doing their own, or maybe they start getting annoyed by the traditions you have because they want to do something different and new. Do you ever like, how do you know as a parent or a grandparent how to like ease back and go, okay, we've done this for, 25 years and I love it and I could keep on doing it forever. But now my son, who's 20 or 25, he's like, let's do something else. Or, Mom, I want to go do my own thing. Or he's married and now he's going to get, like, I feel like that's its own grief process. And also, you have to then decide, how am I going to, like, how do you stay flexible with your traditions while at the same time being that place where he always knows, oh, you can come home and Mom will be there and like she she'll do whatever, and it'll be that safe, warm place for Christmas. Like, how do you balance the two? Because I've met some parents who are very like, we do this every year. And then I've met other parents who are very flexible and are kind of like, we just pick whatever we want to do each Christmas, do a fun thing. And then other times it's no, traditions, which is obviously very sad. But I wondered, like, for you, how do you balance that, not being too rigid?
I'm very fortunate that, I mean, the reason I moved to where I moved is because both my kids moved to this place
Aw.
so that they would be able to breathe and have their kids run around and have a space. I mean, all my life I grew up in a concrete city. I never thought I would move to the Midwest, and I really love it. The people are they're very kind,
Hmm.
and they're very kind to older people, which is something that I think I don't want to group everybody together, but you can be invisible in a big city. You can hear they yes, ma'am, and let me open that door for you. It's almost shocking. It's lovely. It's just great. Um, my kids, there are traditions that my kids loved. They're both very imaginative. Santa is a big deal. The magic of Christmas is a big deal. And I don't know, you just, it is work. Being a parent is work, but it can be so rewarding in so many ways. They have their own things that they do. I respect that. My husband and I will, no, you go do your thing. Hey, we'll look after the kids for you or whatever. That they need that time. You don't have to be around all the time,
Hmm.
but they kind of like us, so it's kind of cool to, maybe it's because they drop the kids off, and kids are safe here, and we do art or we don't do anything. They just, do their own thing. But I don't know. It's you can't make your kids be something they're not.
Hmm.
And I think you have to treat them like they have their own opinions. Listen, you just have to listen to what they have to say. And I also think that there is a separation time when, especially with girls, I think, when they're growing up,
Hmm.
they want to, they look at their mom, but they want to prove themselves to be self sufficient. So a lot of times it's when they go away to college or they get a job or something like that. And, when my daughter went away to college, she hated doing her laundry at the college. So I got to see her every weekend because she'd come and do her laundry. That was all I could get from her. But it was great. Um, you got to make yourself irresistible. Like they love my shepherd's pie. So, I'll call them and say, hey, you guys want shepherd's pie, which is a pain in the butt to make because there's so many pots and pans. But I'll do that for, if we haven't seen each other in a while.
Hmm.
So, you just have to, I think, listen. Listening is really important. I think a lot of families don't listen to each other. And they can certainly have their own opinion, and it can be different than mine, or they can believe different than me. I want to know why they feel that way. And then I hear it, and maybe I'm like, you're freaking crazy, but matter. It doesn't matter if it's different than me.
Yeah.
They've got their own experiences that they came up with those ideas,
Yeah.
and I guess talking and just really hearing each other is very, very important in keeping a family strong. Same with the husband, same with a relationship.
I
You
agree.
have to listen to each other and talk to each other and respect, your own path or their path.
Yeah. What a beautiful Christmas, almost New Year resolution you just put into words right there.
Wow, did I?
But
Did I
yeah,
do something magical?
well, the point that what you said about listening and talking with other people, we're in a culture where that could be quite needed, I think.
Very.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it can fracture relationships and friendships. I mean, I don't understand that because you know me. You know who I am deep down.
Yeah.
So how can you not think that I'm decent because I think a certain way? I just I don't know. It feels very disposable in today's atmosphere
Yeah.
that people can just dispose of their friends because they don't think like them. That's so sad to me.
I think, and the biggest thing for me is, some of my dearest friends have been people who I said at the end, I don't agree with you, but I love you. And they would say, yeah, I don't agree with you
Hmm.
either, but I love you too. And like, I felt safe enough to say that to them. They felt safe enough to say it to me. And then our friendship was like, it was like, they know I can say it, vice versa. And like, it was such a safe place to be because I knew I didn't have to change or pretend something was
Yeah,
inaccurate,
but you can
but I could
be around
still,
someone and not be yourself. That's
yeah.
weird to me.
But also, you could still love them and talk with them, and there was always something that when you'd come down to it, you could still cry together, you know?
Yeah,
And I think,
but there's so many people that have lost that.
I know.
I mean, that's so great
Mhm.
that you can say that. I love you. I kind of think you're crazy, but that's okay because you have your opinion, I have mine. Um, I don't know. People lose that part about I loved you or I love you. They lose that. It's just like, oh, I'm not. I don't even want you in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's whatever. And that's sad to me. I know I have friends that have said that to that they have lost friendships in this day and age, whatever it is, that they're arguing about. It's sad. It's really sad because we need to come together as people and respect each other.
Yeah. It shows that we're very broken people, that it's really easy to just think about ourselves and our own interests and feel self-righteous about the fact that we're standing by. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like we are on a precipice right now, especially like your generation.
Hmm.
Um, you're going to have to carry the torch. I mean, you are going to have to move forward. And I don't think that you should do it in a depressed way. You have to have hope. You have to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that moves people. That can move all sorts of people. My generation was kind of crazy. It was the 70s. It was, flowers in our hair and, all this kind of rock and roll that was so new. And boys had long hair. I mean, it was like, that's crazy. Um, so every generation has their nutsy stuff. But I don't know. I feel like young people are losing hope, and they can't do that because you've got to move forward. You have to keep positive. The weight of the world rests on you, but you can't let it weigh you down.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's encouraging or not, but that's how I feel. You've got to be positive. You just have to be positive, and signs are that by the middle of next year things will be looking up.
Well, isn't that what Maria says in Sound of Music? If a door closes, God opens a window, right?
Absolutely.
I rem-
And climb every mountain.
yeah.
I mean, you have to. And that you asked me earlier in the very beginning of this, why the movie appealed to so many people. You know, I think that is a lot of it. There is hope. There is, she goes and does something really scary. She leaves the safety of being a nun and moves to, marry this guy and have 7 children.
Yeah.
Um, it is Hollywood's version of the story. It is kind of an interesting book, the real story. But then, in the face of all evil, they go and leave.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had been caught, they wouldn't be around.
Yeah.
They had turned Hitler's birthday party down. They were not really favored. They wanted them to entertain there, and they turned down that party. And then they left and they came to America, and they, sang and became very popular here. And that was scary to do that when you think of it. They were brave.
Yeah.
And you have to be brave. And, they went on to become the Von Trapp singers. And they have this, place in Vermont that's very much like Austria, with the mountains and the weather. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place to go visit in Stowe, Vermont, the Von Trapp Lodge.
Yeah. Well,
So, their legacy moved on. And I think everybody has a legacy if they want it. You just have to make it happen. You'd have to find what makes everybody tick and kind of get along with them.
well, Angela, I want to say, it was so fun talking with you. I wish you lived next door. I would definitely come and taste your soup. It sounds amazing.
Oh, my beer cheese soup.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'll put that recipe on my
You should.
my Instagram or my website. I will.
But also,
I'll do that.
You're very kind and sweet. And I really appreciate your openness and just your willingness to have a conversation with someone you don't even know anything about. So that was just really sweet of you.
Oh, well. See, a little bit of Brigitta's coming out in me now.
Yeah, look at that. Well, Merry Christmas. And for people listening, please look up her jewelry that's on her website. It sounds beautiful. I'm going to look at it. And
awesome.
Thank you so much. And just Merry Christmas. And I hope you enjoyed time with your family.
I'm sure I will. Same with you. Have a good move. And it was a lovely podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you and getting a little deeper. It was nice. It was really enjoyable. So
good.
Thanks for looking me up.
Yo, you're so welcome.